It is the Flow Friday Night Sports Show. Hume netball came to a rather chaotic conclusion last weekend as the state was thrown into lockdown. People were scrambling to get home in the end to beat it, but they had to get through a round of matches before they could do that. And Carla from Hume netball joins us on the line right now. Carla, it must have been chaotic scenes last weekend. How are you going?
Yeah, no, all good here, Jason. Thanks. Yeah, a little bit confusing, and at half time there were a lot of text messages going around, and people were really concentrating, I suppose, on what they should have been doing, playing netball, because everyone was too worried about how on earth are we going to get home by 5 o'clock. But anyway, we ended up finishing all the games, and yeah, there were some interesting results on Saturday.
Oh, I'm sorry you guys had to go through that. It was seriously. I mean, they could have pushed it back by an hour or two even. I mean, it was one of the more thoughtless things I've seen a government ever do, to be quite honest. To pick that time, I mean, they could have picked any time. They had to pick that time on that day to do it when the day before they said there wouldn't be a lockdown. Just thoughtless, terrible stuff. But it is what it is. Certainly no fault of Hume netball. Let's have a look at the matches.
No.
Yeah. Let's have a look at what happened on the court amongst all the chaos. And we might start with Randall-Bundry Waller, whose season will continue at some point in finals, we hope. CDHBU, though, their season is done and the Giants beat them 52-29.
Yeah, Randall-Bundry Waller had a really good start, and they were up by 8 goals in the first quarter. They played really strong over the next 2 quarters and were up by 20 goals going into the last quarter. Brianna Higgins had a really strong game against a really tall shooter, and Jessica Kotzer played a great defensive game. So the awards for Randall-Bundry Waller went to Alicia Liskey, who fought hard the whole game and chased every loose ball, and Vivian Mellors had a really strong game in wing defence. CDHBU's best players were Courtney Haig, Chloe Gilchrist and Rachel Hanrahan. Yeah, so a good win for the Giants.
Very good win for them.
Up in the top 6. Yeah.
Yep, make sure they consolidated their spot in the 6. Let's talk about a couple of teams whose season is now over, and it was Brock Burham taking on Colcan, and in the end, Brock Burham finished the season on a high with a win, and then they all hopped in their cars and went home.
Well, that's right. Both sides played really well, and it was a fairly tightly contested game with a number of turnovers and intercepts by both teams. Colcan's Carly Lee was injured during the game, and Colcan lost a bit of their momentum, and unfortunately, they went down by 10 goals in the end. Award winners for Colcan were Shannon Seaman, Claudia Grogan and Sarah Smith. But Coach Gabrielle Gibbons is really impressed with how the girls have improved over the season, and she's really looking forward to next year. And the Saints, Mim Dunstan had a great game in wing attack, and Michaela Hawkins played out of her skin with her defensive pressure down the court. And Coach Talia has really enjoyed her year with the BB Saints and, looking forward to next year as well.
At the start of the round, the Billabong Crows had a silly chance of snagging a double chance, but they had to beat Henty by a heck of a lot, and they held up their end of the bargain. They won 71-14.
Yeah, a huge percentage boosting display the Crows put on against Henty, and they enjoyed having their full side after many weeks of inconsistencies. Ricky Robb stood tall again in goal shooter all day and held beautifully, and she was awarded best on court. Maddie Tubis also had a great game in wing defence, and she made her wing attack work hard for every ball. And Bethany Maloney continued her great display of shooting. And those girls took home the awards. Henty made some changes after the lockdown announcement, and Melanie Wenton was playing wing attack and goal shooter, and she had a great game, winning the most valuable player with the 2 Hobart sisters having a run in defence. So it was a really nice, tall bit of height down there. And one of their young under-17 players in Henry Colligan took the court to A grade. So Henty have got a lot to work on, and I'm sure they'll be, back next year as strong as ever, because they're, a pretty strong club. So I'm sure they'll be back again next year.
No doubt. The Murray Magpies confirmed their unwanted title as the best side to not playing finals. They beat Holbrook comfortably in the end, 54-30, but they finished the season in 7th spot.
Holbrook had a really tough game against the Magpies. They came out firing and they finished with a really good, solid win for the day. Going goal defence and Hayley McPhillips and goal shooter were Magpies' best players, and the Holbrook girls had a great fun game, mixing up their positions in the last quarter, and Abby Jennings had a great game in the centre.
All right. The Billabong Crows, we touched on them before and their request for a double chance. Well, as part of that, they were going to need other results to go their way. They needed Howlong to beat Lockhart by plenty, and that wasn't to be. So Lockhart and Howlong had a cracking game, the closest match of the round in the end. It was Lockhart winning, though, 50-46.
Yeah, it certainly was a great game through to the very end. And the score could have gone either way, with both teams setting themselves up for finals contention. Both goal shooters were key for their teams, and they displayed consistent shooting and rebounding to keep both teams in touch with the win. But Lockhart eventually ran out with a 4-goal win. And best players for Howlong were their goal shooter Erin Hartwright and goalkeeper Sam Way. And Lockhart's awards went to Holly Murphy and Beth Murphy.
Indeed. And Lockhart could have been forgiven for thinking at the end of that game that they had secured the double chance, bearing in mind that Gindera were taking on the previously undefeated Osborne. That would have catapulted Lockhart up into 2nd spot and the double chance, but it wasn't to be. Gindera beat them.
Yes, there certainly were a few people on the fighting straight after the A-grade game to find out some results in other matches. Osborne faced an extremely determined Gindera side, who bounced out and took the lead early in the game. Coach Tegan Vogel was absolutely thrilled with the whole team's effort against ladder leaders Osborne. And the girls, just their ability to stay composed and make good decisions under pressure enabled Ginger to come away with a 9-goal win. But Osborne really didn't make it easy in the second half, keeping the score even. And I think Tegan was pretty happy. She was celebrating a birthday milestone. So well done to the Ginger girls. And their best players were Sarah Sutcliffe and Sam Creasy, and award winners for Osborne were Rachel Galvin and Abby O'Connell.
Sets up a mouth-watering final series between those guys, doesn't it? Oh.
Yeah, so I just needed to say one of Osborne's young B-graders, 17-year-old Lou Madden, won the Beanie of Bravery as a keepsake for her debut in UK. So well done to Lou Madden.
Excellent work. Now, I guess we wait and see what happens with the lockdown in New South Wales before we can work out what's next for Hume Netball. But I mentioned the mouth-watering final series that awaits us. Are you confident that we'll actually get it?
Well, we're going to try really hard to get a final series happening, and hopefully we can, have it like we normally would with our top 6 and playing our normal sequence of finals. But we'll just have to wait and see, and we'll certainly try and do whatever the club, really want to do, and the players, because it's really about the players and how they want to play these finals.
Yeah.
But it's just fantastic that we've got all 12 clubs represented across the 8 grades of netball. So that's really exciting. That hasn't happened for a few years. So it's great to have every club represented.
Yeah, well, let's hope we can get some finals. We'll check in with you next week, and hopefully we'll have some sort of an idea of where we are with the lockdown and whatever decisions you're able to make in between now and then. But until then, we wish you well. I know there's going to be plenty of Zoom meetings and phone calls over the next 7 days. So, Carla, good luck with that, and I hope it all goes as smoothly as it can for you.
Thanks, Jason. Hopefully we can get some netball final plays happening. Yeah, because I think it's going to be some great games. So, fingers crossed.